Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Santos on Sports, along with my good friend, Mr. Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Welcome in. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Attorney John Seed, 156 8th Street in New Bedford, Lakeville Athletic Club at 325 Bedford Street in the great town of Lakeville, Citywide Glass, 3 locations, Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton. And last, but certainly not least, Scotty's Pub, located at 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River. Mr. Chris, how are things going with you?
I am not doing well, Paul.
Yeah, I know why too.
I
It's
am
because
not doing well. I don't like what's been going on out in Texas. I don't like the way the Cowboys have started. They are now 1-2 with a must-win already early in Week 4 at New York tomorrow night against the Giants. I do not like our run defense at all. We are getting shredded. It's embarrassing to watch. I know people talk about Dak and, what he's supposed to be doing, getting paid the big bucks. But when you're down 14-0 like this in 2 possessions, now you're chasing. And then obviously there's a lot of hostility along the offensive line with the receivers and everybody gets all worked up. But to me right now, it starts with the defense. I had a great first week. I thought it was going to be something I was looking forward to. But then the next 2 weeks was not a pretty sight for Dallas fans. So bad start there for me. Obviously for you, which leads to our question of the night, Paul. Should the Pats play Drake Maye now, which means Week 4 after being 1-2, beat Cincinnati, and then lost your next 2? So is it the point of should the young man get his chance now and say, this is your turn? Or do you stay with the veteran in Brissett and try to work to get better? Now, I'm going to start off, Paul, and then I'm going to have you come on in. I'm going to say, unless you think he is so ready, I would not play Drake Maye. And unless he's that good to play, and you got to put him in. I put Bryce Young as a perfect example. Struggled with Carolina, benched him, brought in veteran Andy Dalton. Look what they did. I think the Pats' issue is that offensive line. They're getting killed. Brissett don't have time. Maye came in. He doesn't have time. I don't know, Paul, if putting him in right now is the way to go. I don't think so. That's just my opinion. I don't like what I'm seeing from this line. It's not giving time for receivers to get open downfield. And I don't want the kid to get hurt, and I don't want the kid to lose it mentally. If this is somebody who you think has a bright future down the road, and I would stick with Brissett at least half the season and then see what happens. So I'm not pushing buttons yet, only because you went into the season, Paul, knowing that this is not our season. We're kind of rebuilding. If this was something, hey, we're supposed to be a really good team, then I could see. But I'm saying no to the question. I don't think you put Drake Maye in now.
I think the thought process goes something like this, right? You put on Monday Night Football the other night, right? And I did. I put Monday Night Football on, 2 games on. Buffalo was blowing out their opponent. Switch over to the Washington Commanders. And I'm kind of half paying attention. I'm like, wait a minute, Washington Commanders. Isn't that kid Jaden Daniels on that team who was picked right before the Patriots? Patriots picked number 3, Washington picked number 2. Jaden Daniels. This is a guy we could have got if we had lost one more game the year before, where a lot of people were saying, hey, maybe if we lost that game, we didn't kick that field goal, we could take it. So I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, wait a minute. 50 yards in the air, right in the air, touchdown, right? Then there's another guy open in the corner of the end zone. Oh, touchdown. I'm like, wow, this guy looks fantastic. He wants to run for the first down. He runs for the first down. I mean, he's in the pocket. He's stepping up. He's throwing all these bombs all over the place. I was thinking, holy smokes, look at this guy. Well, without going back in history, because there's nothing you can do about your pick. Some people still think Drake Maye's the better guy in the long run because he's built for the game. He's bigger. He's stronger. Maybe he has a higher ceiling. There's a whole argument there. There's a whole analysis there that's beyond my level of expertise. Mm-hmm. But here's the question, right? If he can go in there, and Washington doesn't have that great offensive line either, if he can go in there and make a difference in year one, maybe our guy can go in there and make a difference in year one. Now, I know he played longer. He's older. He's 24 years old. Heisman Trophy, played a lot more games, played in a tougher division, so on and so on and so on, right? But the thought process is hey, Brissett is really not doing it. I mean, he misses guys wide open. He doesn't have time. He steps back and gets crushed. But the few times he does have a guy open, he misses him. When he missed Hooper in that pass, which really could have changed the game. So that's the thought process. What do you think about that thought process? I mean, if Daniels is in there, why can't Maye go in there?
Well, I think they're different styles. I think Daniels is a different quarterback than Maye. He's got more mobility probably than Maye. Maye might be a stronger arm and a stronger player. But I think the way Daniels plays, and I could say the same thing about what's going on with Caleb Williams, who was supposed to be better than Daniels. And he's been struggling a little bit in Chicago, trying to get that offense going too. And so, you take what you get. And as you said, it just happened to fall in the lap for Washington that they got this guy. But they like him enough to say, we got nothing else to back it up. We're going to go with this guy and see how it goes. And they've taken off on it. And maybe he's got a little bit more mobility that he's been able to, scramble inside the pocket, get away from trouble that maybe other quarterbacks can't do. And maybe the offensive line is holding up a little bit better. So there's some different tangibles, for each guy, what has over another. And how your offense is run. What do you have for weapons? All that kind of thing, Paul. So it's kind of that process of, who just gels with who. And right now, he's been the best gel out of all the teams for Washington. So it hasn't worked for Chicago yet. It hasn't worked for, Maye yet because he hasn't really been in there. And the same thing even last year with Bryce Young, who, again, struggled, got benched. Andy Dalton came in and went off and played great, and Carolina wins. You could look at C.J. Stroud right now, nothing, having a couple of tough weeks himself, trying to regroup and get back into it. So, there's a lot more than just say, plug the guy in and see what happens. There's a lot of intangibles that go with it, from receivers to offensive line to game plan to game calling, all that with your coaching staffs. So everything has to work just right. And right now it's working for Daniels and the Commanders.
I agree with you. I don't think I would put Drake Maye in right now. I think it's a different situation.
Yeah.
As I pointed out before, he's a little younger, didn't play as many games, didn't play in as tough a division in college. They say he's a little bit more of a raw prospect. So maybe you work with him a little bit more. And I got to tell you, Brissett does not appear to be that great a quarterback. However, when he takes two steps back and gets crushed, and there are three guys coming in, almost looked like there were three missed assignments. I mean, in a couple of those plays, people just came in and he was leveled before he could even do anything. So
yeah, I mean, you're not going to win
yeah.
games like that. And
No.
and they know that. And, you don't want to hurt something that you just got that you hope will be around for, quite a few years. So you got to be careful. Yeah, I understand. I don't know if it's panic button time right now, Paul. I really don't, only because I think the Patriots need a lot more than just Drake Maye. That's just I just think they need a lot more things for this team to really get better and more pieces of the puzzle. So I just don't think putting him in right now. If somebody thinks something different, please give us a comment. Call us 774-218-3393. Should Drake Maye play right now? And where are you going this week, Paul? San Francisco?
We got San Francisco this week, and that's going to be a tough one. I got to tell you, I'm looking at the list of our predictions and so forth. Once the first couple of games went by, we got Aaron Rodgers, is followed by the 49ers. Although the 49ers have a lot of injuries, and they haven't looked as strong as, they blew that game the other day against a very good team, though. But, they still lost that last game. So I don't know how they're going to come out in the game against the Patriots. And, football is the thing that makes it so interesting is anything can happen in any particular week. We've seen that. I got to tell you, one of the things that concerns me, though, remember after week one, they knocked off the Bengals and they ran the ball and they didn't make any mistakes. And Brissett still hasn't turned the ball over, so you have to give him that. And Patriot fans, we were getting a little excited. I think we were like, gee, maybe this team's a little bit better than we thought. Maybe instead of being a 3, 4, 5, 6 win team, maybe we can scratch our way to 500 and be in the playoff hunt conversation and that kind of thing, right? But now you look at the Bengals, right? That win over the Bengals doesn't look like it's as big as it was after seeing the Bengals the last 2 weeks.
Well, I'm sure teams looked at film on that first game against the Bengals and say, hey, listen, we got to stuff the box. We got to come after him. We think we can get to him, and we can stop the run and force them to throw. And I knew the Jets would be doing that definitely an awful lot. And they came after Jacoby as well as Maye later on, and you knew that was coming. So to pick up the protection, to get some help from the running backs with the blocking as well. There's a lot of schemes, a lot of things that they're going to have to do better with this offensive line to really protect their quarterback and hopefully, give him a chance to at least have time to throw the ball, which he has not, either one of them that's been in the game.
Lisa Carrito comments, Brady would suck behind that offensive line. Don't ruin Maye. That's just my opinion, but it's an opinion that's supported by a lot of people, including the expert on the other side of the line over here. And Joe Potter, why get the kid killed? High school teams have a better offensive line. So play Brissett or even Milton. You need a couple of pieces up front or the kid is going to get hurt. So, again, there's a lot of people that agree with you and I on this one. It's just it's not going to help. It's not going to help right now. And a lot of quarterbacks, even Mahomes, because Mahomes sat behind a good quarterback, Smith, and, and other teams have put the quarterback behind another great player. But, this is a little bit of a different situation. But putting him in there, I think a lot of us agree that it's not the right time. But if you disagree, again, 774-218-3393. But, the Patriots, right? That win against the Bengals, right? It almost feels like, big deal. The Bengals aren't playing well at all. Bengals stink. So that win doesn't really, when you look back at it now, it doesn't seem as impressive as it did at the time, right?
Well, you got to look at who they played too. I mean, you're playing Kansas City. I mean, you're talking, Super Bowl champs. They're not playing bums. So, and Joe Burrow, I think, is still good. And Jamar Chase, was having some issues earlier. Now he's getting his feet wet again, back playing. So, there's a lot that's been going on with that. They got rid of Mixon, picked up a couple other guys. So, they're trying to find their winning ways too. So, anytime you win in the NFL, a win's a win. And again, you've just said anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday. And we've seen that for years, and we've talked about it for years. So I'm not going to knock the Pats for winning a ball game, saying that another team is just not that good, because I'm not. They can, you just go out there and you play your best every Sunday and let the chips fall. And for them, week one, they were prepared. They were ready for it. And they got the job done. And Cincinnati has not been able to do that since, a few years, because, Paul, you even predicted that Pats would win this game because since he's a slow starter. And once again, they were. So, and I'm not blaming New England on this one. And I'm not, I can't blame Cincinnati. It's just New England went in there, was a better team for that week.
And take a look at Seattle, right? Seattle is 3-0. And the Patriots are one field goal away from winning that game. They really should have won that game. So you look at that, you're like, gee, the Patriots are hanging with that team. I mean, maybe Seattle will fizzle. You don't know. It's only 3-0 now. And you can start out 3-0 and end up, 6-11. Who knows? But I'm just saying, I mean, Seattle's playing good ball, and the Patriots almost beat them.
Yeah, I mean, they could be 2-1. There's no doubt about it. They were just outplayed and just got beat up by the Jets. There's no doubt about that one. But the game before, yeah, absolutely, they had their chances, and they made some tough decisions, and they lose the game, but easily could be 2-1 going out west to San Fran, which is obviously not, a tough place to play, number one. But a young quarterback can make mistakes in Brock Purdy. CMC is still not playing, so McCaffrey being out. Ayuk had some issues. He's trying to get back into it. Samuel, he was banged up too. So there's a lot going on in San Fran, and they haven't played their best by far either. So I'm not saying New England's going to go out there and take them. But, again, any Sunday with injuries and teams, lacking some confidence, you never know what can happen.
What do you think the problem was in that Jets game? Because, I figured, okay, this could be a tough game. If Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, he is 40 years old. they didn't look that great against San Francisco. But again, that was a good team they played. And so I'm kind of sizing up, Aaron Rodgers. I forgot that he was 40. I thought he was like 37, 38. No, he's 40 years old. He's out there. I mean, Brady played till 45, but Brady's in a class by himself. But Aaron Rodgers is out there, and I'm like, wow, he looks like the old Aaron Rodgers of his prime. I mean, he just looked fantastic. And you could tell, right? You could tell to me the first 5 minutes of that game, the Patriots were like 1 yard, another 2 yards, grind it out, punt, And then even though the Jets didn't score in their first possession, they were coming down the field 10 yards, 15 yards, 8 yards, 9 yards, eventually ran out of gas, got the second possession, and then went right down the field and scored. And every time the Patriots got the ball, it was like pulling teeth, just trying to get down the field. They started throwing the ball maybe a little bit more than they had in the past. Maybe the game plan was to catch them off guard. Maybe they're thinking we're going to run, so we're going to try to do something else. It just didn't seem to work. What was the problem? Could you tell what the problem was that the Patriots were having on the field that night?
Oh, well, there's no doubt it's all offensive right now for them to even get the ball 10 yards down the field. You can get, even when I watched the Eagles game the other day, them and the Saints battling back and forth and no offense could really get going. And all of a sudden, Saquon Barkley, one play and he's gone for like 80 yards. So, the Patriots can kind of look for that every now and then to say, hey, if I get that one play, that's all we need, a little bit of that spark and that one play to get us going. They can't even get that because there's no holes opening up. There's no protection to get the long and the deep ball. And the Jets figured it out to say, hey, we're going to rush two linebackers. We're going to go full out blitz. We're going to go man to man. We're going to do all kinds of things and get the schemes the way they want it. But for the Patriots, it's all offense. How many points did the Jets score? How many points did the Jets score, Paul?
Yeah, I forgot what the final score was already.
So think about that. It's not like they lit them up for 40 points.
Well, but they were moving the ball fairly easy.
They were, but not. But normally that you're going to get that when you have more possessions because your team's going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. You're going to start to wear down finally because your defense is out there a lot more, which, that's the strength of their team. And so they got to find a way to pick up that offense. That was pretty much the whole problem.
Both teams had the same issue, the Thursday night game after you played Sunday. Mm-hmm. So you could say, well, they had the same amount of time to prepare as we did. But, right. You have a younger team, you have a young coaching staff. Maybe they didn't have enough time to figure things out in those short amount of days. I don't know. It almost looked like they were unprepared. And the games before, they were leaving it all on the field, And this game right here would almost look like, once they got a few possessions into the game and you see where it was going, I'm not going to say they quit, but I don't know. They seemed to lose their mojo at some point during that game.
Yeah, and again, as I said earlier, I think they're looking for some spark. They need someone to step up to make some kind of a big play, a big run. Something's got to come their way, and there was just nothing going on. Trying to dink and dunk. And when you don't have a lot of time, to really step back, and then you're getting hit from everywhere, from which side you turn around, you're just getting popped, taking sacks. And so when that happens, there's just no momentum. You get depleted, and it just really struggles as a unit, and you just can't find any mojo.
Now, Lisa says Mayo looked confused. Do you think maybe a little bit of the deer in the headlights there for Mayo?
About being, a short week and all that preparation. Well, it's his first time doing it. That's a possibility. But they're professionals. I would expect them to be ready for the game going into it. But when it starts and gets going, the better team showed up, and it was the Jets.
All right. What do you think about the question of the day? Should the Patriots put Drake Maye in there? A lot of people are saying that they should. Chris and I don't think so. Lisa doesn't think so. A lot of the people that are commenting here, Joe Potter doesn't think so. Is there anybody that thinks so? Or do you agree with us? Are you?
What are the talk shows saying, Paul? Have you been listening to the talk shows?
Yeah, it's sort of like a mix. Some people are saying, hey, you just put him in there. What are you waiting for? Yep. Jacoby Brissett is not that good. He's always been mediocre. He's a journeyman. Why not give the kid a chance? Even if the Patriots lose the game, at least the kid will be learning as he goes. He's not going to learn a lot standing on the sidelines, is what some people will say. But then again, you hear like a Tom Brady and some other people like yourself, and we don't want to put him in there too early either. You don't want to ruin him and hurt him. Mm-hmm. And again, this offensive line is just so bad. There's no weapons out there really to deal with. I mean, got a couple of young guys coming up like Polk and Of course, Pop Douglas got a little more involved in this last game. Both tight ends are very good. So I don't know. Maybe you can scheme it up. There's another thing, too. There's another theory that goes with Alex Van Pelt that maybe, his style, that West Coast offense doesn't really fit Drake Maye. So now they're trying to figure out, well, how are they going to implement that kind of an offense with this particular player? Because
maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't fit Brissett, and maybe it does fit Drake Maye. You could look at it that way too, because
right.
Supposedly Maye can move. He's got a strong arm. Could be more of a gunslinger than Brissett. Brissett's more of that mediocre in between kind of quarterback. So who knows? So that's why maybe they're saying give the kid a chance. Just tough to say. I just say no.
Yeah, I don't think so either, especially with the offensive line being what it is. I mean, if you had a decent offensive line and you could give him a chance to do something back there, then maybe he could kind of learn on the job. But to try to learn there's a few times there, in all fairness to Brissett, and he did miss a couple of open receivers, but in all fairness to Brissett, when he takes the ball and takes 2 steps back, and it's just like, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't move around. When Tom Brady didn't have a good offensive line, the year that Kansas City played Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl, that's the year that Patrick Mahomes' offensive line, he had 2 guys out, and he was running for his life the whole Super Bowl. So even a great quarterback like that can't deal with a weak offensive line like that. So anyway, give us a call, 774-218-3393. Let us know what you think, and let's go to our phones right now and say hello to Butch from Acushnet. You're on Santos on Sports.
What's up, gentlemen?
How are you today?
Very good. Very good. Great job as usual.
Thank you.
Hey, this is what I don't understand. If we were watching the Patriots or listening to commentary or, talk radio, and we were hearing that, Brissett was missing guys who are wide open or is fumbling around in the huddle, calling, screwing up, changing the play or, making just playing bad, then I can understand, making a change at the quarterback position. But when the Patriots quarterback's getting sacked 7 times with limited protection, and I don't know, again, I'm a Monday morning coach, right? A manager, right? We sit on the couch and is that, is he getting sacked 7 times because he's holding on to the ball too long? Or is it because we don't have an offensive line, I just don't hear enough legitimate complaints about Brissett that thinks that this kid, right out of college, is going to come in and play better or make the outcome different, I guess I should say. I don't get it. I just don't understand where people are saying, put him in. I just don't understand the experiment.
If the offense does not run at all, and you go over the film, and as you're watching the film, as these coaches do, and you think your quarterback has no confidence in that huddle, can't make right calls at the line, missing wide open receivers, can't scramble, not good mobility, something that this offense could never shake and will never move the ball down the field, then I would say, okay, guys, it's time to move on. We're going to have to give the kid the young kid a shot.
Right. Yeah. Right. We got to make a change. We have a better option. Right.
Correct. So I think they have to go by not play by play, but series by series to say, hey, whoa, I don't care who we got in there. Nothing's going to happen. Or, whoa, this is Brissett's fault. This play, that's Brissett's fault. This play, that's Brissett's fault.
100%.
So forth and so on. So right now, they're looking at it as if he's still playing, he's still doing the right job, and maybe we're not getting the production from the other positions. That's what I would do to change a quarterback. That someone's got to lead me better than what I'm seeing out there in these series. And half of the problem is my quarterback's fault.
I mean, it's this finicky, fan-based critics. It's like, I don't think Brissett is doing all that. I mean, I'm no coach, but I do watch the NFL prime time, and listen to the professionals, and I think it's the 10 other guys on the field rather than the quarterback.
Well, and here's the thing too, gentlemen, right? How about the no turnovers, right? When you think of how many turnovers you could have in this game, how many fumbles you could have, or maybe if he rushed the pass when he shouldn't have, maybe a lot of times, this whole way of doing things, Chris, like a little more conservative. Yeah, maybe you're not going to light up the scoreboard, but you're not giving the other team short fields either. You're not turning the ball over, and that's worth a lot.
That's another great point. It's
well,
not
it
like
is.
another great point.
Yeah, it is, Butch and Paul, but I think there is times that you got to finally sit back and say, hey, we got to take our shot down the field. We're not going to live by this, what we're doing, and being this conservative and dink and dunk and too fast in the NFL to kind of get away with that, and try to score. And sometimes you just got to take the reins off and say, hey, let's go get them, AKA like Bo Nix. I thought the first two games, they kind of, Sean Payton just kind of got them going just a little bit. Then I thought this week in Tampa, they let Bo get going and moving it and throwing it and getting it. So I think there are times that Van Pelt's got to say, hey, we got to take our chances. And we got to throw this way. And if you turn it over, Paul, so you turn it over. But you got to take your chances and get some shot and create something. And then if it's not there, and then obviously we see what happens with how he did it. And if it's not the way you like it, then you might have to make some changes. But, drop balls or 10 feet over the head, it depends on how it looks. And then you can make the decisions. But I think it's time to, really open it up and just see what happens.
Especially, right, if you're like at midfield, let's say you're at midfield or you're the enemy 45 and you throw a ball downfield to the 10-yard line and gets intercepted, so what? You know what I mean? Like, there are times where you can try that, and even if it ends up in the stat sheet, you threw a couple of interceptions. Well, it's when you threw the interceptions and where on the field that you threw the interceptions that counts, I think.
I can do that.
Chris, you think that the play calling is limited because of who the quarterback is, and that if Jake came in, they would change the play calling to be less conservative?
To a point, yes. I think they would try to attempt to open the offense a little bit more, knowing that maybe he can run a little bit more. Maybe his mobility is better and he has a stronger arm. And I would look at those key factors to see, hey, let's see how it goes and how he does and what he looks like. And then I would kind of develop from there to say, yeah, I can open it up even more compared to I got nowhere to go. I'm turtling, I'm tucking, and I'm just going to take my hit. And so I think they got to find a way to kind of create something to get this offense clicking and moving again.
Hey, Butch, there's a couple of times where Brissett was kind of slow to get up, and we were thinking, oh boy, if he twists an ankle or he gets banged up and they got to put somebody in there, then they have no choice but to put Maye in. But then I'm looking at Lisa Corrado, who was commenting in the comment line here, and she says, hey, at least Milton can run for his life. Maybe there's a thought process that if Jacoby Brissett gets banged up, maybe you throw Milton in there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're not the first one to say that, Paul. I heard that. Like I said, I listen to the experts a little bit.
Right, me too.
Some of the hacks on the radio, not so much, but the experts. that was actually brought up. I don't know if I would do that, Paul. You got to. I don't know if I would do that. I'm just. I don't know.
Butch, let me ask you this question, Butch. So what have you seen so far from Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, even Bryce Young, who got benched? Why is Jaden Daniels doing so much better than these other guys? Is their offensive line that much better in Washington? Are their skill players that much better in Washington? And yet he's pulling off the wins and passing down the field and looking efficient and so forth and so on. So what do you, and compared to Caleb Williams, who, like Derek Richards said in the chat, who's been getting wrecked, and he's right. He's been taking some big shots, and he's blaming, even Caleb's blaming his defense more than his offense. So that was, I found that interesting. But what have you seen from Daniels that has been better than the other guys and the success in Washington right now?
Well, first of all, with Drake May, right? He hasn't played a lot of football.
Right.
He probably has less games under his belt.
Correct.
At the highest level that they've competed at than any of those guys you just mentioned.
Correct.
So the experience level is one. Two is, everyone has a characteristic, right? Some guys, run well, can maneuver back there and avoid sacks. They're very mobile. Other guys have strong arms. Some guys have both. Some guys have size. So, I mean, that's a good question, Chris. But I think, again, it's an 11-man sport, or 22, but 11 on one side.
Right.
And there's probably a lot of different things. And we're going to trust our coaches and head coach to identify those weaknesses and our strengths and that type of stuff. But you're right, the offense is anemic. There isn't any. We haven't seen any offense in 3 years, perhaps, and then even before that. So, I just don't like throwing away the future because, the offense is anemic and we got to do something I don't want them to do something just to do something, I guess I'm saying.
Right. Let me ask you a question, Butch, right? I'm watching that Monday Night Football game the other day, and I see the Commanders there. And I know the Patriots have a lot of other problems, the other 10 guys on the field besides the quarterback. But when I saw this guy drop back and throw a bomb that was 40 yards in the air, that landed so perfectly in the wide receiver who was going full speed into the end zone for a touchdown. And then he came back and did it again, dropping one right in the corner of the end zone when you needed it, when the chips were down. It's starting to feel a little it factor there. And the first thing I thought of as a Patriots fan was, oh, my God, we got the wrong guy.
Well, I think the best guy went first. The second best guy went second. And we picked third.
We should have tanked it. We should have tanked it when we had the chance.
I'm not, I agree with you 100%, but I think he was the third best quarterback. And because we're picking third, I think we got the best one that was available.
Right. Isn't it going to be awful? And it's too early to say, right? But isn't it going to be awful if Jaden Daniels turns out to be the real deal and our guy is a bust like most of them are? Most of them are busts. I mean, it's just such an inexact science. That could happen. And how frustrating is that going to be?
Yep. It's strange that these guys, if they're not put in the right system, they fail. And then, you see them move around the league, and then all of a sudden, they're resonated.
Hey, did you see Mac Jones the other day, Butch? Poor Mac Jones. He comes in garbage time. He goes back. He fumbles the ball. The other team picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown. I'm like, I think I've seen that movie before. I think I saw it in Dallas. I flew down to Dallas to watch a game, and I saw that happen.
Unbelievable.
All right, Butch. Well, thank you very much for the call as usual. Hey, before you go, what do you think? How bad is the game going to be against the 49ers? Do you think the Patriots can hang with them a little bit?
I think, there might be a couple quarters that they hang in there, but the second half may be problematic,
Might be a good day to pick. Might be picking apples with the wife. That's a good day. Third quarter, we're going for pumpkins.
Yeah, I mean they got some injuries. Purdy may not play. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thank you very much. Great call as usual.
Okay.
All right, Butch from Acushnet here on Santos on Sports. If you want to jump in there, 774-218-3393. Looks like it's unanimous so far in the Santos on Sports audience. I know there was more disagreement in some of the Boston talk shows, but I don't know. I agree with you and the rest of our group here so far. If you have a different opinion, please either type it in or give us a call at 774-218-3393. I mean, is there a possibility that you put the kid in there and all of a sudden there's life and, like that? Or is it just like, hey, we're going to have to rough it? We think the latter. What do you think? You have a different opinion? Let us know. Now, while we're on the subject of football, I want to circle back to the Dallas Cowboys because when we first came on the air, Chris came on a little, he was a little grumpy there. He's usually
Was.
happy-go-lucky kind of a guy. He comes in thinking about the Cowboys, and we were going to do the question of the day, but the Cowboys they didn't look so good. Mr. It Factor, it was a different kind of a factor. This wasn't happening. So what happened with the Cowboys there? Do you think?
Well, as I said at the beginning of the show, their run defense has been shredded in Game 2 and Game 3 by New Orleans and obviously Baltimore, who have some good running backs. So we've been getting to the quarterback when they're passing, but it starts off with a run, and the next thing you know, a few possessions, we're down 14-0, 17-0, 21-0. We try to make a comeback at the end of that game in the second half, started to gel, got some touchdowns, onside kick, got another touchdown, but obviously too little, too late. So they have to play solid 4 quarters, and they have to really shape up that run defense, because right now it's last in the NFL, and teams know it, and they are just ripping them apart.
But you do have the highest paid quarterback of all time.
Correct.
On that team, right? Dak Prescott, who I think was holding out, but I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. But we've had that discussion before.
Correct.
But he is the highest paid quarterback in the history of the game, right? So, when you see like Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes fall behind by a couple of touchdowns, the old Patriots with Tom Brady fall behind by a couple of touchdowns. It's almost like, well, don't shut off the TV and don't leave the room, because that's nothing, right? So the fact that Dallas falls behind by a couple, why is that such a big deal? Why can't he lead the team back?
Well, I mean, he did in Baltimore, and if they had another possession, I still think he would have done pretty good. Baltimore found a way.
Close. Yeah, they did.
When Baltimore found a way to kill the clock, and they got a first down when they needed it. So, with them Patriots teams and them Chiefs teams, you also need help on the other side of the ball, so your guy gets the ball back. Don't forget that, Paul.
Right.
And, the Patriots used to play good D to give Brady the ball back, as well as KC to give Mahomes another shot. And, Dallas needed that. They didn't get it, and they used Derrick Henry in the run to get the first downs, 2 of them, on that last possession. If we would have stopped them, we would have got the ball back. Then I would have seen what he could have done. But we never got to that. We never saw it. And the next thing you know, it was already over. The game before against New Orleans, they were so far ahead, it didn't matter for him to come back. We would never had enough possessions. Every time they got the ball, they scored. So that's how bad that was.
Yeah, I'm watching that game, and I'm seeing the Cowboys lose the game, and I'm thinking, boy, Chris Santos is not having a good moment right now. That's the first thing I thought of. Then the second thing I thought of was there's a lot of Cowboys fans around this area, right? They're just, America's team and blah, 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 something. And all these Cowboy fans are illiterate. And speaking of Cowboy fans, there's a Cowboy fan on the line right now. We say good evening to Ryan from Ryan from Rochester. Good evening.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Yeah, good. How are you? So you were another Cowboys fan that was watching that game thinking, oh, no, not this.
Yep. Of course. They're like, oh, boy, here
we go again?
Calories, yeah. Yep, here we go again, because it happens all the time. You get down, like, this time it was like 28-6 or whatever it was. You get down big. Then Dak decides to come on in the fourth quarter, and then it's like, hey, look, it made it interesting. Yeah, when you do realize you were down 28-6. Like you really didn't do all that much. So empty calories there, especially because they couldn't even get a stop on that third down.
Hey, you guys are looking up at the Commanders.
Oh yeah, at the moment. That's how you know the NFC East is just a weird division when you got the Commanders who just picked number 2 overall. They're number 1 division right now. We'll see how long that lasts, though.
Hey, before we get to the question of the day, we're on the subject of that division. What'd you think of Jaden Daniels the other night, Monday Night Football? Were you thinking, oh my God, we got the wrong guy? Because that's what I was thinking.
Well, that's still to be determined. We could once Drake actually gets it in there, whether it's this year or whether it's next year. The thing is, we don't know, and unfortunately, that entirely falls on Bill. We'll never truly know because of course because Bill won those useless games last year. They picked 2 and we picked 3, so we're not going to know who's the better of the 2 until Drake gets in there. But I was super impressed with them. I was like I know that Cincinnati's been on kind of a downward spiral, especially defensively. But you talk about that pass, corner blitz right in his face, and he just freaking launches I think it only ended up being like 27 yards, give or take, but as good of a teardrop as you'll ever see. I was super impressed. They got something there.
Yeah, and I don't think that can really be luck. You might say, well, he had a lucky day and he just dropped it in there a couple of times. I don't know, maybe, but it takes a little bit of talent to drop it in there. And then the one before that was in the air for 40 yards. I mean, that was a beautiful pass. I mean, that was an ESPN highlight reel pass. And I guess it's because we haven't seen a Patriot quarterback throw one of those for like 5 years since before the pandemic. That's why I was so jealous about it. I'm like, look at this ball. The ball's actually in the air for 40 yards. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this since 2019, for God's sakes.
Spoiled.
Yeah, he's spoiled.
Hey, Ryan, Ryan, listen, Ryan. Remember what he said. He said, you guys are looking up to the Commanders. He could have said, you got the same record as the Patriots.
Yeah. I'm looking up at Buffalo. We're looking up at the Jets. We're looking up at everybody.
Yeah, we got the same record as the Patriots. I was waiting for that one. He hasn't said it yet, so I thought I'd throw it out there before he did. So Ryan, let's get to the question, Ryan. Do you play May now? Do you wait a couple of weeks? Do you wait 5 more games, 3 more games? Let the season end out. What would you do if you're the Patriots with Drake May?
I let the season end out altogether. Like personally, I made it abundantly clear. I don't want him seeing a snap this season just because of how much of a disarray the team is in. At most, I'll give it something similar to and again, I know it's apples to oranges because the Chiefs made the playoffs with Alex Smith years ago. But at most, I would give him maybe the last couple of weeks, give or take, just to kind of get his feet wet. But I'm not putting him in there for an extended period of time, especially considering that the left tackle is still a cluster, because the 3rd round pick, Caden Wallace, he got his chance to get in there, and he was probably one of the worst players on the field at that point in time. So City So is coming back, so I guess you'll get some stability at left guard there. But just the left tackle situation alone, and just the fact that this line has just been so bad adjusting to the brand new system, it's just. You talk about Jaden Daniels. He's. I shouldn't say he's lucky, but he has the luxury. I should say that's probably a better word of having guys like Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz, who's always been good. Guys like that on his squad. Noah Brown almost had a touchdown pass. The former Cowboy, he almost had a touchdown catch. So just supporting cast in general, their offensive line is probably maybe slightly better than the Patriots, if anything, but just in totality, just because of how bad the offensive roster is, I don't want him in there for any extended period of time.
Looks like we're all in agreement on this side so far that nobody really wants to see Drake May in there yet. I suppose if the Patriots had a little bit more of a better roster that you could surround him with, then maybe you might want to put him in a little sooner. But I got to tell you, the way I'm looking at it, and this is, of course, different from our opinion is what it is. But I got to tell you, if you get to the middle of the season and the Patriots are just losing game after game after game, the fans being what they are, you're going to start putting pressure on the Patriots like, hey, what the hell? Why don't you just put him in there? That kind of thing. I don't see Brissett making it through the whole season. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I'm going to agree with Paul on this one. I think this is where the fans and some media and the noise of, hey, this is not New England Patriots football, and we're, let's say, 1-9. We got to do something. You got to give the kid a shot. And, that pressure could be built up, and they're going to say, yep, let him play. That could happen. I'm going to agree with Paul on this one.
And towards the end of the year, you got Indianapolis, Arizona, then you got the LA Chargers. So the last 5 games, 3 of the last 5 games are games that Chris and I thought the Patriots could win. So maybe down the stretch, you're playing teams, depending on how these teams are looking too, when you get to that point. I do think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Patriots to do something, just put them in there. You said the last couple of games. Yeah, maybe the last couple. I think it might happen earlier than that.
Likely that's going to happen, and I certainly hope that's not the case, because
right.
If for no other reason, maybe not the fans' pressure, but maybe ownership start looking at okay, maybe they might like the Crafts might start putting their imprint on that sort of thing. Like they kind of look at it and say, okay, this is not going well. Let's get the kid in there, see how it goes. Now, I'm hopeful that, with, Elliot Wolf kind of overseeing everything, the pack, excuse me. Sorry about the cough there. But, Elliot Wolf with his experience with the Packers, preaching patience. I'm hoping that kind of takes hold over anything else, despite all the outside noise, the outside pressure, anything of that nature.
Hey, the Boston Celtics had their media day yesterday, and, we're going to get back into the swing of things. And, it's interesting. I think there was some comments there from some of the players, about, repeating and how difficult it was going to be and some motivating factors and, that kind of thing. It's going to be tough to repeat. I think they get the best roster, but what are your thoughts going into the next Celtics season? I know it's early.
I still feel pretty good. Like I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that they're going to repeat that. The coaching staff is revamped a little bit. Jeff Van Gundy, he went to the Clippers. Charles Lee, he's the new head coach of the Hornets. But roster wise, it's going to be the same. But is it? But is it going to be like one of those things where, like, everyone's a year older? Some guys start taking a step back. Is Al Horford going to regress massively? Then, of course, you got with, say, Porzingis. How is he? How are we going to do, like, through the first few months while he's still recovering from his injury, with the surgery that he got on that weird ankle thing that he had? And fingers crossed nothing bad happens. But what if one of the two stars gets injured?
Right.
Or what if, like, Holiday or Derek White gets injured? So it's just a lot of things to keep in mind, especially with all the money that they put into this roster.
Yeah,
all right,
hold on, Paul. I truly hope that this offseason that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum take into heart what the media has said about them, the hype about the Olympics that did not get to play. And I hope they come out, both of them, and play outstanding basketball together, individually, I don't care how, and show the media and the fans how wrong they were, and that these two guys are talented players and can repeat. So I really hope it goes in that direction. I'm not saying it's going to. I would like to see it, especially Brown, because for what he did at the end of last year and got no recognition for it, I think he's got a little bit of something in the back of his head going, oh, you want to be like that? Okay, watch what happens this year. And I think he's going to be prepared for it.
Well, here's the thing too, right? Tatum, right? He comes out and he says he wants to win the MVP of the league, right? Okay, I don't want to hear that. That's what he tried to do last year. He's running up the score in blowouts, and stuff like that. I got to tell you, this guy's got a big ego. You know what I mean? And I don't like it. I think this guy gets to the fourth quarter, you're blowing the team out. He wants to have the most points all the time. He wants to win the MVP. He's lucky that Brown was there to win not only the MVP in the finals, the MVP in the semifinals. He needed a guy to bail him out not once but twice. So this guy is just a little too much. I think, Ryan.
I mean, I can see that in some regard, but I guess it depends on what MVP you're talking about. Like if you're talking like regular season MVP, like that's useless to us. Like what good does that do? I will say, you talk about like Chris, you talk about wanting hoping that a fire is lit under both of them. In a way, you could look at Jason Tatum could look at this and say, okay. Sure. I was well in the race for not only Eastern Conference Finals MVP, but Finals MVP as well. Does he have a little fire lit under his ass almost?
Yeah. Once they got up 3-1.
Oh boy! But,
get ready. This is just the beginning.
Oh yeah. The next accomplishment, okay. Not only do I want to win another one, I want these awards too.
Yeah, maybe they'll actually play somebody in the playoffs this time too.
Listen, I have no and Ryan will tell you the same thing. I have no problem with someone setting goals. If you got a goal and you want to, and you're setting it and you're going for it, I have no problem with that. Now, at the same time, if he would have said, "Hey, I'd like to be MVP of the league and once again be a world champion," I would have been great with that, knowing that, hey, this is my accomplishment. Now, if you're looking at it as all I want to do is be the MVP of the league and nothing else, then I get it. So I don't know if Tatum is like that. I'm hoping he's not. But at the same time, I have no problem setting goals, and he sets it high. That's fine. And for Paul, he just wants him to work on his 3-point shot at the end of the games and win some big games and be the it factor. So hopefully he'll be doing that in the offseason as well and keep it going.
Let me ask you a question, right? Suppose Jaylen Brown said, "Hey, you know what? I didn't get picked for the, the Olympic team and all that.
Yep.
I want to go out there and win the MVP of the regular season."
Great goal.
All right, so he can't win it and Tatum win it. So in other words, if it's the fourth quarter and you're blowing the team out and they both got 20 points, one guy wants to get 35 points. So now they're playing off of each other, which they've done before. People can say they haven't done that. They have done that before. One guy's trying to keep the ball. Tatum's trying to run up the score at the end there. They do it all the time. So I think the observation would be different if Brown had said it. They'd be like, "What do you mean? You're going to be the MVP? So that means you got to score more points than Tatum." Tatum's not going to like that. He's not. In fact, he's not going to let you do that.
I don't look at it that way. I just think they're professional. I don't see it like you see it, Paul.
I know you don't.
I don't think it's that way. I
think there's a lot more ego stuff going on than you think.
Yeah, I don't see it like that. I think they're two professionals that can work together and win again.
I hope you're right.
And when one guy's playing well, they know that guy's playing well, and he shows up and does what he does. And when he's playing bad, the other guy lifts him up, and they go back and forth. That's what you would like to see, and I'm hoping they feel that way. But if it's egomania, I think we would see a lot more of that in a lot more different circumstances. So I don't know. For me, I don't see it like that. But
what about you, Ryan? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think that in terms of egotistically, they're like. I mean, certainly, he's certainly not like the Luka Doncic of the league. Which again, he's a really good player, but technical fouls all over the place, constantly complaining, and Tatum does his complaining too. But Luka just blew him out of the water. It just got ridiculous. And talk about like just wanting to win like a league MVP. Like you look at a guy like James Harden, that's a guy who just cared about stat padding and winning MVPs, right. And the guy's never won a championship because he just does not care enough to win one. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's quite that bad. Of course you're going to have some sort of ego with every player, especially when they're making the amounts of money that they're making now. Like they're making $300 a piece now, but I don't think it's quite as big as some of the other divas in the league.
All right, real quick, Ryan, do the Patriots have any chance at all against the 49ers? Can they keep it close? Can they make a game of it?
Maybe they can make a game of it just because of the defense. Because I got to say, with like these past couple of weeks without McCaffrey in there, I didn't think I didn't think they were going to lose to the Rams this week because they got smoked by Arizona the week before. Mm-hmm. Then they pretty much got smoked by the Vikings. So maybe they can keep it close. But again, I just think because at the moment, the better coaching and the more talent, especially in the offensive line, because Trent Williams is the greatest left tackle that personally I've ever seen. Like again, I know there's better tackles of all time, but for what I've seen live, Trent Williams is the best tackle I've ever seen. But I think because of the system that Shanahan runs, the talent, and again, like Nick Bosa is just going to tee off on whoever's playing left tackle. So I don't see it. Maybe they keep it close defensively, but they're not going to score enough points to keep up with them if they somehow score 30.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much for your usual excellent call. And hey, maybe there'll be an upset. You never know.
Yeah, fingers crossed. You never know. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
All right, thanks.
Hey, Ryan,
thank you very much for calling Santos on Sports. Okay, well, we got some interesting things coming up. We have some baseball. The Red Sox are still mathematically in there, but of course they're going to get eliminated in the next couple of days.
I was listening to how they could actually still get in it tonight. Yeah. Kansas City would have to lose 7 in a row. The Twins would have to lose 6. way the guy was talking, I'm like, seriously, guy, you're going to bring that out right now?
Yeah,
So,
and the thing that's unfortunate, right? You look back, right? I can just think of 4, 5, 6 games off the top of my head that the Red Sox blew in the last
easily.
5 or 6 weeks, easily. Like I would put the game on, they blow the game. Then I put on next night, they blow the game.
Well,
Then the
stop putting
following
the
week,
game on.
yeah, right, exactly.
Stop putting
All
the
right,
game on.
you know what I do? I put the thing on. Again, I sometimes I watch the whole game, but sometimes we're busy doing stuff.
Yeah.
And now the games are faster with the pitch clock and everything. So I put the game on. It's like the 6th, 7th inning. And I'm like, oh, the Sox are up 4-2. Geez, they're great. Bing, bang, bang, 7. They're behind 7-4. Okay. Next night, the Red Sox are in a 2-2 game here in the 7th. Bang, 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 they lose 5-2. Just night after night after night. The middle relief was just horrible. And then their offense. How about that game the other day? How many times did they strike out? They struck out like 18, 19 times in the same game. I mean, they couldn't even put the ball in play. I mean, it's just the offense is weak. And but again, they're just a few games away. If they could just go out in the offseason next year, I mean, they got money in the bank. They got plenty of money, right? You're talking about one of the top franchises in all of Major League Baseball, in one of the top markets in all of Major League Baseball. They should be right up there with Los Angeles, New York, and these big markets.
Yeah, they should be. And I'm sure they'll, reconvene at the end of the season and sit back and say, okay, how can we get better? What are we going to do? Starts with obviously another ace in the hole that they got to find in the pitching staff, shape up, obviously the bullpen, and then, get a couple of big bats. So they got some work cut out for them. Look where the Yankees are, won the division, getting ready to, for October to get their situation. The Orioles clinched the wild card, so they're waiting to see where that goes from there. But the AL East, Paul, it's just the toughest division in baseball. And you're talking those two teams. Every now and then, Toronto shows up for a year, and they bang them out and play well. Tampa sometimes gets in there too. It's just 5 teams that really push each other, and it's a tough division.
All right, we're going to try to sneak one more call in there, and we say Ben is in Dartmouth. Hey, Ben.
What's going on, Paul? Chris, how you guys doing?
What's going on?
How you doing?
Nothing much. First off, I just want to say I don't think we should start May this week necessarily because
it's unanimous.
Sorry?
I said it's unanimous. Everybody seems to agree.
Yeah. So because of the 49ers front line, they still got Bosa. Although they might be a banged up team, however, they're still superior to. I mean, it's going to be a hard day for the Patriots, but I heard the spread's 10.5, so it can go either way. It's toss up, just like the Jets games, Jets versus Patriots. It's a coin flip. By a coin flip, the Patriots. So that's one of those games. I believe it's going to be going down as a coin flip because the way these teams are looking right now. Yeah.
So you think the Patriots can give them a run for it with Brissett in there?
If necessarily, yeah, I believe so. I think Brissett might have a good game if Brissett plays like trash. I mean, you got Maye or you got Milton. I think personally, if you don't want to get Drake Maye hurt early, go for Milton because Milton has a strong arm too. But if you ask me, I think I'd put in Drake Maye because I think he's the better quarterback out of the rookie class this year.
All right, so wait a minute. Let me get this straight. So you think they should put Maye in now or no?
Personally, as of right now, not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Not in this game, right?
Not in this game. Could be Miami. I wouldn't mind if they put him in against Miami. But other than that, I'd just put him on the bench right now.
All right, Ben. Thanks for getting your call, and we appreciate it. Hope to catch up with you soon.
All right. See you Friday.
All right. Ben from Dartmouth on Santos.
There's one Paul that you can think about too. Now, you talked about Miami.
Yeah, right. That's the next game after San Francisco.
They don't have Tua, and they did not look good at Seattle. Patriots have 10 days to rest, traveling out west from a Thursday game to the following Sunday. So, maybe we're try to stay healthy, get a little bit more creative in the offense. San Fran, as Ryan said, been banged up, not playing so good, lost to some teams that they probably shouldn't have lost to. Not sure what's going on with Purdy. CMC's out. Same thing with Samuel and Ayuk. A lot of things happening with San Fran. So I'm not saying it's a game maybe they could steal, but who knows? You got to play it on Sunday and see what happens.
Ryan Martin says if they stop calling boring plays, let's get some RPOs and create better offensive plays instead of high school football offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how your offense sets up and what Alex Van Pelt wants to run. So Ryan could be right on that to say, as we've talked about in this program, about opening up the playbook more and get it going and be a little bit more creative. So hopefully, yeah, he's right. They need some kind of change, some kind of spark to get this offense going. They need some change. So hopefully they'll figure it out. And as Ryan said on the call before, maybe getting some guys back on that offensive line that have been out and banged up to help out along the way. So we'll see how it turns out in San Francisco.
All right, time to wind things down. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Scotty's Pub of Fall River, Citywide Glass of Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton, Lakeville Athletic Club, and attorney John Seed of New Bedford. We'd like to thank those who commented today, Lisa Corrido, Joe Potter, Butch Ferreira, who also called, Derek Richard, Kathy McGovern, Ryan Martins, and again, our callers, Butch McCushnet, Ryan from Rochester, and Ben from Dartmouth. Thank you very much for your contributions to Santos on Sports. We much appreciate it. And let's see what happens this week. Got a big game with the Cowboys tomorrow night.
Yep, at the Giants, obviously a division game. Hopefully they can step up their game. We beat them, I think, the last 6 times, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully we can continue and get back on the winning track and 2-2, because Cowboys have a tough schedule. They got some good teams coming up, and they got to start turning it around, and they got to fix that run defense. And hopefully Mike Zimmer has done something about it.
They're 1-2 right now. They really need that one tomorrow night. That's for sure.
Yep.
All right. For my partner, Chris Santos, I'm Paul Santos. Thanks a lot for calling and for commenting. We really appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.